Welcome to the Financial Freedom Secrets Show. This is your host, Jackson Milan, the Wealth Mentor, helping business owners create financial freedom faster by mastering the language of money. Want to see how well you're tracking towards financial freedom? Complete our 40-point financial performance scorecard at wealthhealthcheck.com.au. That's wealthhealthcheck.com.au. The average score for most business owners is 18 out of 40. So complete the scorecard now and see how well you're tracking towards financial freedom. G'day guys, this is Jackson Milan, the Wealth Mentor, and we're here for another episode of the Financial Freedom Secrets Show. And I'm very excited about this one because I have Brett Ellis, my business partner and head of Aureus Growth Partners, and also head of marketing at Aureus Financial, and has been the individual responsible for our exponential growth as a business. He's usually very busy in the marketing dungeon, so to speak, driving the strategy forwards from behind the scenes. So I've roped him into to getting on the podcast and sharing some of his genius. So Brett, thanks for joining us, mate. How you doing?
No worries, mate. Yeah, I'm doing very well. Very busy, but yeah, doing very well.
Fantastic, mate. So let's start right at the very beginning, Brett. Let's talk about your origin story. The thing I love about you, and I think this is the thing about the marketing space, my philosophy has always been a lot of the guru marketers that you see have this big personal brand and are really kind of busy selling snake oil and bullshit. And in many cases, there's not a lot of substance behind what they're selling. And then there's phenomenal marketers who just completely fly under the radar and they're the world's best kept secret. So I'm interested to dive into your origin story, mate. So let's go back to the beginning. Where did you want to start?
Yeah, I suppose we'll start with I guess yeah, where I sort of come from. So never really had no families in businesses or anything like that. I joined the Royal Australian Navy when I was 17, graduated recruit school at the age of 18, did some training and then basically got sent to a ship. And then on the Friday and then sailed on the Monday. And then I, ended up, fast forward all that. We ended up doing one trip to the Arabian Gulf, which was good. And then, yeah, traveled all around Australia, all around Southeast Asia. So I spent a fair bit of time just at sea, and away. I got to a point in my career where I didn't like most of the people who were like above me. And I didn't like how the attitude that you sort of needed to have. I think I was a bit more, I still did what I was told and everything like that, but I wanted to do something else with my life. So I'm from Perth, WA, grew up here, managed to get posted mostly over there in Perth as well. Little bogan town called Rockingham. I think it was like Australia's most bogan town in like 2012 or something. So, yes. But yeah, after that, I just was like, you know what, I need to get out and do something different. So yeah, I was good with fitness and stuff like that. So I was like, I'm going to move to Brisbane. So I moved to Brisbane and then became a personal trainer. The first thing that I realized, because I was very good at the skill of being a personal trainer, but one thing I realized was like, I have to market myself. So that was a big struggle for me. Then I got into, sorry, this is going to go all over the place, but then whilst I was learning to be a PT, one thing that caught my eye was PTing for the brain. And that's when life coaching really started to sort of take off. So I got a qualification as a life coach, which just like most personal training, qualifications, it's not worth anything at all. You could literally get it in a box of Wheat Bix. So did that, tried to market myself as like as a life coach sort of thing, and then just pretty much failed at everything really. With regards to like marketing myself, I still had those tactical skills, and so anyway, long story short, through a various amount of like failures and whatnot with regards to not being able to market, I ended up learning how to sort of market. I became a dating coach for quite a while there. Actually moved over to Canada for a year and I was doing that over there while still working as a personal trainer and everything like that. But yeah, over time, I sort of developed these skills and following people like Scott Oldford, Seth Godin, and a whole bunch of other people. and just trying different things, doing webinars, doing, selling in-person seminars and stuff, selling from stage, everything like that. And all those skills sort of got me to a certain place. But what happened is I ended up partnering with my best friend. We bought into a beauty salon franchise. I told you this was going to go weird.
I love this.
So yeah, Navy, coaching, dating coaching, and then beauty salon. So the thing is, with that franchise doesn't exist anymore. We actually that business failed pretty hard. But the problem is the franchise itself, like we're paying all these franchise fees and everything, and they're not doing anything for us, even though they were legally supposed to. So I had to learn Facebook ads, marketing, everything like that to get clients in the door. And I think I won some franchise award for like best marketing and stuff like that. That was good. So that sort of gave me more and more skills. But yeah, the beauty salon sort of wound up. I ended up saying I didn't want to do anything with the coaching stuff anymore because my coach partner at the time he was just a bit over it as well. So yeah, long story short, then I put my hand up. I was like, look, I'm looking for a job in marketing because marketing seems to be like the one thing apart from the Navy that I've always loved doing the most. Always been very good at writing, learned how to write copy. I've written blogs for years and years and years. I had a podcast that ended up with 100,000 downloads at the end of it. That was after about a year or so that we were doing that. So yeah, and then I ended up working for someone in an agency. Got fired within 8 months. Just didn't have the skills right there. But then I worked for a different agency, and I think I was with them for like 5 or 6 years, and then went out on my own with my own agency, made people millions and millions of dollars, grew, worked with brands like Aussie Footy Shorts, grew them from zero to $2 million in about 18 months. Their other brand, Hogs, Dogs and Quads, they were a low six-figure business. And then within a year of working with me, they were like doing about 1.6 mil, I want to say. So I worked with them for ages and ages. And then, yeah, ended up seeing that you wanted a marketer and then potentially to partner up, and then yeah, just knocked it out of the park. So yeah, long story short, that's how it all sort of came around, mate. Told you it
Fantastic.
was a weird story.
It's great. And what's interesting, mate, I don't know if we've spoken about this, but I was in a franchise as well. And similar to you, the franchise we'd scaled to number one. We had two franchises. We were number one, number two in the country. And the franchisor, it was a publicly listed business, was bailed up by the shareholders. And as a result of keeping his position, had basically guaranteed a profit and cut all of the national marketing spend to zero. So then the entire network's leads went to zero, and we were basically left high and dry. So I had to learn to become a marketer in order to feed our lead generation, and that's where I discovered Facebook ads.
Yeah, yep.
And I'd probably say I have a much deeper love-hate relationship than you do with Facebook ads. We've certainly come a long way since the olden days. So Brett, let's talk a little bit about our system. So obviously we've been working on growing and scaling the Aureus business, and we've been achieving some amazing results. We're on I think, $12 million top line run rate and $30 million business valuation over the course of the next 12 months, which is very exciting.
Yep.
But let's talk about the system, mate. So in your experience, what are the top three issues that service-based business owners face when it comes to their marketing?
Um, yeah, so I suppose the top three things I would say is they're very reactive. Their marketing is just, it's kind of haphazard. They're not thinking they're just thinking like the next tactic will work. So there's that. And then obviously because of that, their leads are very, very inconsistent. They're probably overly reliant on word of mouth referrals, and word of mouth referrals are good. We do have strategies to help people with getting more word of mouth referrals because those leads are usually a hell of a lot warmer and you can sell them a lot easier. But eventually they do, I mean, hopefully not eventually, but they do, it's unreliable. So you really need to look at developing a paid strategy that works. And obviously with inconsistent leads and reactive marketing, you have a poor return on investment. Not so much if it's, you're getting a lot of word of mouth referrals, but eventually like it can just dry up, and it's really risky for you, especially as a business owner. Like if you've got staff and everything, like, yes, you're doing something right because your business has grown based on word of mouth referrals. However, you need something that's a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? But yeah, something that, it just comes in on autopilot all the time. And then you can also hopefully still have those word of mouth referrals as well. So yeah.
Hang on. Yeah, this makes a lot of sense to me, mate. And I can attest to having this, even though I knew the value of marketing as an expert technician, being deeply ingrained in my business, focusing on the internal delivery and the operations and that kind of stuff is like what kind of comes naturally. Like if you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Mhm.
And I've had the issue of the reactive marketing. It's like, oh, like it's this feast and famine. Or you've got that word of mouth, which you kind of wear as a badge of honor that, oh, I don't pay for marketing. All of my opportunities come from referrals, which is great, but also means that's completely outside of your control. And then when that does become volatile, which inevitably it does, like there's a market turn or something happens and that results in inconsistent leads, and then you end up trying to go and throw money at ads reactively, and then you whinge that, oh yeah, Facebook ads don't work for me.
Doesn't
And I said
work.
that for years. I'm like, yeah, everyone else might be able to be successful with Facebook ads, but they don't work for me. And it was because I didn't get this system right. So it makes a lot of sense. So you've kind of coined this term, the profitable marketing machine. And I think this is kind of the meeting of our minds of the financial perspective and the marketing perspective coming together. So from your perspective, mate, what is a profitable marketing machine? What does that mean exactly?
So a profitable marketing machine, it basically encompasses everything that you need to attract leads, to nurture leads, and then to be able to warm them up to a point where you are easily able to sell them. And it's done through like strategy and positioning. You're looking at like funnels and automation because obviously you can't manually do all that. So it's about leveraging them the correct way that makes sense and doesn't um, uh, push people away, I guess. Well, pushes the right people away. And then, yeah, obviously on that side is, yeah, your strategy, making sure that the overall strategy, your positioning is correct. They're being nurtured well with funnels and automation. And then obviously at the front end of that is your traffic and your lead generation. Mate, and that's where the Facebook ads come in. And or Google ads, but mainly Facebook ads, is getting those right people at the right time, and then giving them the right offer, and then nurturing them along with a series of other offers.
Makes sense. So let's use Aureus as a little bit of a case study. And anybody who's followed me knows that I'm very open and honest about our results. So, Brett, what are the results that we've achieved as a business as a result of implementing the profitable marketing machine?
Well, we look at the return on ad spend, and that's what, a 9, I think, at the moment. Yeah, so I mean that's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Like,
$1 in, $9 out is pretty
yeah.
good.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, so most marketing agencies, they focus very much on vanity metrics.
Mm.
And when we say vanity metrics, we mean things that don't matter to the bottom line. Like I generated many years ago 1,000 leads for one company. It was 50 cents per lead. And I'm like, wow, that's excellent. That's so good. But then nobody bought the offer at the end. Nobody really booked a call. So like a normal sort of agency, obviously there's good ones and there's bad ones out there, probably more bad ones, because every person with a drop shipping business that's like built a business with zero profit, yet it's doing like $3 million a year, thinks that they're a world-class marketer. So like a lot of agencies were like, yeah, look, we've got you 1,000 leads this month. That's awesome. And you as the business owner, you're like, but that hasn't gotten me any sales. Like, what the hell? So our focus is always on the bottom line, more so the profit margin. And then we also look at not so much your return on ad spend, your ROAS, but also look at the overall return for the business. So we take into like your profit margin and your COGS and everything else like that. So then we can actually make the right decisions, because it might cost you, like sometimes we'll pay, for example, we know for your business, like we need to keep the cost per lead under what, 330. because we know what the conversion rate is, we know what, X amount is, we know the next steps, and we know that this metric equals profit. And
Yes.
then, yeah, we have specific dashboards and stuff that we've put in place, just to make sure that it is actually affecting the bottom line. And I think that's just what most agency owners, they don't have privy to that information. Like asking some clients for like older clients for access to their P&L, they think you're swearing at them,
Yeah.
you know. But as a marketer, you're not shown how to look at a P&L and how to make sense and how to make calculators based on how exactly that, it's affecting the bottom line and increasing your profit margin.
Bang on. And the interesting thing here is like we're doing this at scale. So like we're going to spend what 110 grand this month on ads.
Yep.
Our target, we're on track to do $1 million in sales this month, and
Yeah.
we'll do a 30% profit margin.
Yep.
So the system works, and it requires a deep understanding of the financial model of the business in order to then reverse engineer that into the appropriate marketing strategy that's conducive to achieving the business results.
Yep.
Which is awesome, right? And the great thing I've found myself, because I'm a finance guy, and even with that, I looked at marketing in the traditional way with the vanity metrics, and that just meant that I was guessing. And in hindsight, there was campaigns that I took behind the shed and shot that were super profitable. That because my gut feel told me that it was too expensive or it wasn't working, that I got rid of them. And I think that's often the thing that I've seen in our experience, the vast majority of people kill their campaigns before they've done enough testing and optimization. And it's
Yep.
because they don't know the numbers, that it's just this is either working or it's not, which means that they're relying purely on luck.
Yeah, and it is like I've run ads for myself and I've done the same thing. Like this
Mm.
is, and it's something that you have to learn, especially if you are marketing yourself and you're seeing the money go out, but you're not seeing it come in. It is very tempting to pause ads and, oh, this isn't working. It's like, mate, it's been on for 10 minutes. Just chill out. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, this is where outsourcing to an agency where a good agency where we can sort of focus in on, yeah, okay, this is the KPI. This is what we need to do. Okay, it's not
Yes,
working. These are the levers we need to do. All the meantime, like the business owner can focus on doing the work of their business and not worry about it. And a simple mind shift, if you are running your own ads, is to not think of it as your money. It's the money. It's
mm,
the marketing budget, and it's like in the beginning, it's like very calculated gambling. To a point where it's not actually gambling, but it's like, this is the budget, this is what I want to spend. Hopefully, we can get a good ROI, but we're
yes,
sort of figuring things out. But for us, it's like we can read the data and go, yep, this is working, this is not working. And we can see the bottlenecks as well.
yes,
So it's like, it's like, oh, you've got a sales bottleneck. Like, open up your calendar. It's not that hard. And they're like,
for
oh,
sure,
it's like, open your calendar, have
exactly.
more sales calls and more conversations. Even if you're not like closing them, you are getting better. Like in the beginning, if you're not like closing them, you are getting better at selling. And then, over time, it's just a matter of improving your processes. But yeah, we have a nice eye for the bottlenecks as well.
For sure.
Whereas if you're in the trenches of the business and you're obviously flat out, it's really, really hard to objectively look at that stuff.
I agree. I agree 100%. And that's the value of the dashboard. So let's just do a quick recap. So we spoke about the three biggest frustrations, the challenges to solve is that reactive marketing, the inconsistent leads, and the poor ROI. And the opposite of that, or the solution to that, is creating this profitable marketing machine. And that revolves around the three pillars. So it's the strategy and the positioning, it's the funnels and the automation, and it's the traffic and the lead gen. So let's zoom into the strategy and positioning for a moment. The first aspect of that is avatar clarity. So, mate, in your experience, I guess, what's the extreme ends of the spectrum in terms of avatar clarity? Like, do you want to give us the worst possible example?
Yeah, so the worst possible example is anyone with a heartbeat. So like if you're a chippy and you sell kitchens, anyone who wants a kitchen,
Hmm.
so like lots of people want a kitchen. But the problem is it sort of waters it down. But on the other side of it, it can be really, really hyper focused, and this can work, but you can also go a little bit too far. So like, I want female 56, owns a three properties. She, wants this particular cupboard in a, like you can really hyper focus on it and then they also have like a holiday home that they want
Mm.
to do, so you can sort of go hyper focus. But really, like I did this, had a look at the property, the positioning with a client the other day, because like we're running an ebook for a specific client, and they just weren't getting booked calls. There's a lot of things that they were doing incorrectly as well, like not calling the leads and having a chat with them, giving us the feedback so we could make changes. But what I did is I went back through and had really looked at their positioning, and we looked at that look, we're probably being a little bit too generic
Mm.
with that ebook. So now we're going to create a new ebook that is specifically for, empty nesters who probably own a holiday home, and they want a brand new bathroom, for example, but they're
Beautiful.
also getting old. So the way that we sort of position them is like, when we build out your bathroom, obviously you're not there yet, but one day there might come a time where you're going to
Mm.
need railings to get into the shower and stuff. So
Yes.
we're not going to put them on now, but what we'll do is we make a point of telling them that we'll put some plywood and make sure there's extra blocking behind the walls. So when you do need the hand railings and stuff like that, we don't have to rip out your entire bathroom just to put some railings in. We just have to
Beautiful.
remove two tiles and then put it in and then redo a little bit of tiling. So it's about speaking to them, their exact needs, and understanding exactly what they want and maybe some future wants as well. And these people are happy to spend the money because they can see the value in it. And it's all about communicating that value in a way that they want to hear it. So,
Makes a lot
yeah.
of sense. And look, I think conceptually for most people that makes sense. But everyone is very precious about this. I don't know, I certainly was for many years because I had this self-limiting belief that, look, I can help everyone, so I have a duty to help everyone. And on the other part of the equation was, what if I turn business away? I'm not at a
Mm.
position where I can afford to turn that business away. And as a business that we have continually niched down, and about 12 months ago, we made the decision to exclusively work with seven-figure plus business owners. And it was a scary decision. But what we found is that our marketing engagement and our lead quality went through the roof. And in fact, our cost per lead went down.
Yep.
So our results of our overall marketing improved, and it was the best decision that we've ever made. So what I urge you guys, from somebody who's been through this myself, niche down. It doesn't repel people who are outside of that market. In fact, people who are outside, let's say six-figure business owners, they still resonate with the message, and then they reach out to us all the time to say, "Hey, I'm not at seven figures yet, but can you help me?" And
Yep.
then we can make a decision of whether or not we make an exception to the rule for them or refer them to somebody else.
Yep.
Super important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and like even though, yeah, we specifically work with seven-figure business owners, there are some offerings that we have that are still very useful to
Yes.
them who are six-figure business owners that just sort of have the right mindset, and they're probably on their way to seven figures. So, yeah, and that just to touch on that, when we said we're going to go for seven-figure business owners, immediately I was like, oh, cost per lead's going to go through the roof. How am I going to manage this? Like, how are we going to do it? But yeah, it actually, yeah, our cost per lead dropped. The sales team are having a lot more better conversations, less time wasted. So overall, the costs, yeah, went down.
Which is pretty phenomenal.
So good.
Counterintuitive, right?
Yep.
So I think that's a great testament. So then let's segue into the strategy piece, mate. And we've touched on this a little bit around the metric tracking of knowing your numbers. So from your experience, like what are the key numbers that a business owner needs to know in order to work out how they get their marketing profitable?
Um, yeah, so I mean, I suppose initially you really need to understand how much does it cost for you to serve that customer.
Mm.
So then you want to understand your goal, what's your goal profit margin,
Mhm.
and then you sort of backtrack from there because yeah, some marketing metrics such as like cost per lead is important. You sort of really need to know how much you can, based on those back end numbers, how much you can afford, how much you can, the most amount that you can afford to spend on a lead, because the more money you can spend on a lead, like the you're going to win more. So yeah, having like a complete understanding of all your metrics, your how much like you should be spending for a marketing qualified lead, how much you should be spending for a sales qualified lead, for all that. And then, yeah, once you figure out all those numbers and then you can tell us what they are and we help you work that out anyway. Then from there, we can, yeah, go, okay, cool. Now this cost per lead on the front end is like $500, but with the actual KPI is 1,000. So we're like, let's double spend. Let's go, so we can get more volume of leads coming through.
And the interesting part about this as well, and this is a shift that I had to make, and it sounds stupid, once again, being a finance guy, of taking so long for the penny to drop here. But I think it's just human nature that when it comes to our marketing, because we're often reactive and because we don't know these numbers, we want to spend the least amount humanly possible to get a lead, right? And the philosophy on the flip side, and this is something that was said by Dan Kennedy, a very famous marketer, is the person that can afford to spend the most to acquire a customer will always win.
Yep.
And that was a big light bulb moment for me because I'm like, well, okay, a cost of a lead is, particularly if we're talking about bidding on Facebook, right? It's an auction, and auctions always go to the highest bidder. So if I need to pay whatever the market price is to get a lead, depending on the other people that are competing in the auction, what other mechanisms can I control that allow me to make more from a customer, meaning that I can afford to spend more than anybody else wanting to buy a lead?
Yep.
And that shifted our mindset because, like, for most people, like when you said $330 as our target cost per lead, for so many business owners, like even Jackson 5 years ago, I would have had a bloody heart attack if you said
Yeah,
that
you'd
I
spend
needed to spend
150, you'd be like, that's it, Facebook ads don't work.
exactly.
Yeah.
And we spend our average lead cost at the moment is what now, Brett?
About 150.
Yeah,
Yeah, probably less actually,
yes,
depends, but yeah, no, it's very good. It's within KPI.
exactly. And we make a 9 times return on ad spend. So
Yep.
it just goes to show that when you know these numbers, it makes it so much easier to make informed and educated decisions around return on investment.
Yeah, not just gut, and yeah, you don't want to just rely on your gut feel because you haven't done it before.
Mm,
Whereas like my gut feel is different to your gut feel because my
yes.
gut feel is based on the data and based on what we're actually seeing the market respond to
Yeah.
instead of you're like, oh, that's expensive.
So once we know that, we've got the avatar dialed in, we know our metrics, and then we talk about growth mapping. So there's kind of 3 iterative stages as part of scaling a strategy, mate. Do you want to talk us through those stages?
You mean like the three different sort of funnels?
More so in terms of when we're scaling an ad campaign. So from when we start, and then what are the kind of signals in terms of optimizing and then scaling that campaign?
So we have our own sort of calculators that help us do this. So we track a various amount of metrics, and then we basically look at the stats, look at the calls booked, the close percentage, the ROI, and make sure that it is under KPI. And then it isn't just a matter of sort of scaling, but then we can also, what's the word? We can also sort of project out using our calculators like, okay, if we can maintain the cost per lead, we can maintain your cost per call booking, we can maintain your close rate, then if we just add an extra $5,000 per month in spend, then it's just then we should be able to hit these targets even if those targets increase or decrease. Then it's just we can it's still financially viable. In fact, it's much more favorable to spend a lot more money based on all of these metrics. So yeah, that's how we do.
Makes sense. And I guess what is the value of a business owner having a growth map as part of their strategy as opposed to just flying by the seat of their pants?
Yeah, well, like you want to know where you're sort of going because it's like good to see all this money coming in, but like even outside of the business, like are you trying to build wealth? Do you want to buy another property? What's the value of that property? Or do you want to go on a holiday somewhere? How much do you need to put aside to do that? So, like for your next hire, how much does your business need to be making so you can hire someone who is very good and then you can further step away from the business and focus on more high level stuff. So it's important to map everything out so then there's not going to be any fulfillment bottlenecks, or okay, once we hit this amount, that's going to cause a fulfillment bottleneck. So I'm going to need to hire another person or another two people. So therefore, we need to be making X amount an extra per month. So then you can sort of go, okay, that to do that, we need to put in more ad spend, and then that's going to do this. Everything just stays the same, or we improve on our close rate. And then in 3 months' time, we should be doing this, and then we can hire someone who has this skill, and then I can further step away from the business, or then I can go for a holiday, or
Love it.
whatever. Because yeah, we're very much about getting out of the business and then having more of a life of freedom.
Bang on. And look, that's the key to good marketing and good sales, right? It's the lifeblood of the business. So if we've got the right financial model supported with the right growth engine, then it allows us to buy back our time and be able to do the things that we want to do. And the reasons why we got into business in the first place. And in my experience, so many business owners create a prison for themselves because they don't have the growth to be able to buy back their time and do things smarter.
Yeah.
So it's imperative that they have this strategy and they're positioned appropriately to do that. So let's start talking about funnels and automations, mate. So let's talk a bit about the funnel system and our approach to it. Do you want to run us through
Yeah.
the philosophy?
Yeah, so I mean, we have three funnels that we set up, and they're based on basically the buyer's psychology at that point in time. So the first and foremost, and if you use any of these ones by themselves, it's probably not going to get the best results. Now, a lot of marketing, a lot of marketers will basically market for the one thing, the people who are ready to buy now, and that's only 10%, less than 10% of the current market. So if everybody's going after those people, then obviously what happens is you end up becoming more of a commodity, and you're just fighting on price, and you're spending the most amount of money just to get them. But and it works. Like, I've got one client who just has a special offer, and he's done an extra $500,000 this year off like $28,000 ad spend. So, fantastic ROI. And then when you look at his information within the business, then that still makes sense for them. Problem with running a special offer or just targeting the people who are ready to buy now is, especially if you're using a special offer, is like the offer themselves. You need to change them. You need to kind of reinvent the wheel.
Because it fatigues,
Um,
right?
yeah, it definitely fatigues, Although we've been running this one for over a year. No, no. So this new one has been running for probably 2, 3 months. And yeah, it's gone bonkers. But the offer that we were running before that was running for about a year. So that's
Mm.
really good. Got another client who just runs a special offer that's been running for about a year now as well. But it's definitely fatigue. Like, the cost per lead has gone up, but it still makes sense for his business.
Mm.
So the solution to that is a 3 funnel, even a 4 funnel sort of system. And it's based on the buying psychology. So very first and foremost, anyone who is watching this, I guarantee if you go on social media right now, you will see 4, maybe 5 videos of Jackson. Guarantee it. Because everyone I talk to, I'm like, this is your branding strategy, okay? So the very first step is what we do is we create cornerstone content. And this is specifically positioned properly based on the target market that you want, not just sell more kitchens. It's, I want to sell kitchens or bathrooms to people who are getting old, empty nesters or whatever. And we tailor all the marketing specifically for them. So firstly, what we would do is set up the branding side of things, and it's basically just videos, content, right? So we're giving lots and lots of value to be able to increase your KLT, or know, like, and trust metric, which is something I've sort of just coined. So basically what happens is these people don't know you, they don't like you, they don't trust you. So let's give them good content that speaks to them, that has the answers that they're looking for. And we're going to put ads behind that to sort of accelerate that out to our specific target market. So that's sort of like the first step. The second step is the first funnel. So what we're doing is we're offering something of value, which is usually like a cheat sheet, an ebook, spreadsheets, checklists, anything like that. So it's easy for them to download. But most importantly, they're exchanging their name, their number, and their email specifically for that. And it gives them the value that they want, and they're not ready to buy yet. They're just, they might be ready to buy within a year. That, it depends on your business. but you've got them in your ecosystem now. And what happens is we gently nudge them with a multitude of emails, some SMSs and stuff to the next step. So step two is what I really like. And we basically just start with step two is a scorecard. So the buyer psychology is like they kind of like you, they kind of trust you, but the idea behind us helping them create with this scorecard is to identify gaps, identify things that they're not missing. And then what we do is within this scorecard is we gently layer in our solutions. So it's like, look, you're a tradie and you're not tracking your sales. Here's a score. This is the system that we use to track your sales, or anything like that. So they've selected themselves for the second step. They're becoming more and more aware of their gaps, and they're becoming more and more aware of the solutions that we provide, but we're not hitting them with a hard sell or anything like that. So then naturally we just ask them to jump onto a call, which is the final sort of funnel. And then from there, have a good conversation. You see if they're a fit. And then if they're a fit for us, if we're a fit for them, and then we can proceed on to like a longer sort of sales call. But overall, they know you, they like you, they trust you. They've gone through and seen how much good value that you've been able to provide. And then it just makes it easy for when they're ready to
Yeah.
book a call, and then you can basically sell them something that they already know that they need.
Makes sense. Yeah. And what was interesting when I was first taught marketing, it was like go for the jugular, like make
Yeah.
offers, get people to buy your shit straight away. And the challenge is that you are like everyone else that's just going straight for the jugular and there's no goodwill. And particularly in our market, because we're dealing in finance and wealth, which is a hugely intimate topic,
Yep.
and people just lack trust. You need to create that goodwill if you're going to convince the vast majority of affluent people. And what we found previously when we were running the go for the jugular strategy, we were just getting people who weren't our ideal avatar, people who didn't have money or were desperate or just didn't really align with our value proposition.
Yep.
Whereas with this strategy, we are serving content to people, which is very, very easy, low barrier to entry. Because it's super specific, the only people who watch it are our ideal people who are actually interested. And then that's creating a custom audience that we can then retarget. So we're only showing offers to people who have specifically expressed intent and interest
Yep.
around learning more about those things. And it's just one of those things. I know people listening to this are going to say, oh, but do I have to do content? Yes, you have to do
Yes.
content.
I hate
Um,
doing content, but yes, you have to do content. Please just do content, and you
it's
can make it
just
easy by doing this.
And look, we've got clients that our business owner isn't the one that does the content. They've got team members that do it in a
Yes.
podcast format. And so what I advocate you do, guys, because literally this podcast is the production of content for the Aureus Growth
Hmm.
Partners business. So replicate this exact same format in your business with a bunch of you, or get your team members to come up with a series of questions and have a conversation on Zoom or record it, and then chop up that content and use that to create your ads.
Yep.
And it's really easy. You are literally observing it as we speak of us doing the same strategy that we're teaching you.
Yep. And it's going to cut out all of my mistakes. So yeah,
Exactly, right?
yeah, it's good.
And look, and I think that's a really good point as well, Brett. Obviously, I've been doing content for the better part of the last decade, and I wish I kept my original videos because they were so bad.
Mm,
And I find being really good at doing short form in isolation is an art form.
yep.
Whereas in a podcast format like this, you get comfortable as you get into it, right?
Yeah.
And because it's more conversational, there's less pressure, and I actually find you end up getting better content.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's definitely because I've burnt myself doing content, having to constantly come up with podcast ideas, and you stare at a screen, you're like, oh, okay, that's the script, cool, and then they turn it on, and you just go blank. Like it's the worst thing ever. You could have like a teleprompter there, and you still can't read it. Like your brain switches off. So yeah, this sort of format is really good, and you're just talking to another human being, and then you get someone to cut out the bits and pieces to get rid of all the mistakes and stuff like that. And then it just makes it a hell of a lot easier.
Bang on. So let's talk about traffic, mate. So you touched on this a little bit prior about this commodity-based thing. So in your experience, why do you think that, say, Google ads, like Google pay per click, isn't the right strategy for the vast majority of service-based business owners.
It's very competitive. We're running ads for a plumber, emergency plumber, and like it was really difficult. My Google strategist, he's phenomenal, was really really good, and then we just couldn't crack it. Like $250 for a call, and all it was is a call from someone who was looking to price shop for someone else. So, he might get four calls and then get one job, but that job is only $1,200. So then, it's you're not making much money or you're not making at all. But, so you sort of fight and everybody's trying to do that. So like with Google Ads itself, yes, it does work. And we have some people who are doing like a 10x return on ad spend, and that's phenomenal. I'm like, scale it, scale it. Um, but yeah, so it can just be extremely expensive because you're trying to capture people who are ready to buy now, whereas you're not starting a while back, like when they're not even really looking for you, but then you've suppose uh, positioned it in a way that over time they just become warmer to you, and then it's not just about what's your price. It's about,
Yes.
oh, I get to work with this person. It's like, oh, cool, I get to see this person. I've seen him all over the internet, So it's like it's how
Yes.
The Rock was able to create $1 billion, what is it, tequila brand. Like, because everybody knows it's The Rock. It's just
Exactly.
tequila. Like, you can
Yeah.
buy tequila for, you mean yuck, but I had way too much tequila back in the day, but
Yeah, not for
not for
me.
me. But yeah, like it's that brand behind it, and then all the good value that you've given over time. So then they're
Mm.
happy to pay a premium for it because they know it's you.
And the interesting part here, and I know people listening to this are going to say, look, I don't have a year to wait for leads. I need leads today, right? And we found that by playing this long game and using the social ads, the branding and value-based videos, and creating this funnel-based strategy, it actually increased sales velocity. So on average, our days from lead to close is, depending on the month, between 20 and 25 days.
Mhm.
So it basically means we can spend money, get people into our funnel, and turn them into a paying client in less than a month.
Yep.
Now, of course, in other businesses that we've got that are more transactional in nature, that sales velocity can be faster. Sometimes it's longer, right? We've got a client at the moment that does underfloor heating, and they know that
Yes.
their sales cycle is long, right?
Like a year.
Um, but the idea is that there is no other medium like Google pay per click. We don't have the ability to do that branding. You're just a two sentences at the
Yep.
top of Google. And so they can't distinguish the difference between your business and anybody else's business or you as a business owner from anybody else, right?
Yep. Except for, yeah, maybe some testimonials and stuff that were on there, but yeah, even then, like a lot of people are like, oh, they're all fake, or they just don't really trust you. So, but if they've seen you like review go through a
Mm.
kitchen that you've already built, or a bathroom that you've already done, they're like, oh, I like that guy, he seems cool. And then you see a few of them, then you're much more likely to click on them, and it doesn't become commodity based. Like, it's not about who's the cheapest, it's about, I want that person to do my bathroom because they're cool.
Yes.
So yeah, it all
And mate,
helps.
are there any businesses or industries that you just feel that their market isn't on Facebook? Because I think it's a question we get all of the time of saying, my people aren't on Facebook. And like interestingly enough, some of our biggest clients have come from our social media ads that run like $100 million businesses. So there's definitely whales that use social media. Are there any industries that you feel uh, that people that they shouldn't be running Facebook ads?
Yeah, I had a conversation with, what do they sell? One of our Morris financial clients. They sell like road equipment. Lovely, lovely people, and they're like, we like the system. We, should we? And I was like, no, look, this wouldn't work for you because, like, yes, it might work for you. Like a billboard works. Like, I've seen Gary Vaynerchuk say it works, everything works, but it doesn't work for the right price. And is it
Mm.
the right volume? So the strategy that I suggested to them is don't waste money on Facebook or even Google ads, because A, Google ads, people aren't searching for it. B, people aren't really, unless you're like crazy and like can create really engaging, funny sort of content, then it's probably not worthwhile for you. So the strategy that I suggested to them is just to build relationships with key decision people who make key decisions that that would potentially like to hire all their gear, and send them a box of donuts with a bit of a spiel. It's like, hey, donuts, these donuts are on us. And then just have a spiel. If you're looking for, this equipment, then check us out. So you're just building relationships with them. And then obviously there's like BNI and all sorts of other business relationship stuff that you can try and do. But yeah, it's like Boeing doesn't advertise jet engines to anyone. But they've got a sales team that probably picks up the phone and has relationships with, people at Qatar, people at Qantas, and say, hey, we've got a new jet engine, check it out. So that's sort of how they market it. So it becomes like a sales problem. So if you're, what's the name of that, the theory?
Leslie's
Always forget
compass.
it. Leslie's compass. Yeah. So it's like it's either a sales decision or it's a marketing decision. So like if you're selling toothpaste, you don't want to call up everyone or knock on doors and say, "Hey, how's your toothpaste?" I mean, that might work, but like, it's probably not, you're probably going to get the door slammed in your face. But if you're selling jet engines, you knock on the door of, the key decision maker at Qantas per se, and then you say, "Hey, we've got this new jet engine." And then you're going to be like, you're probably going to sell more. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. So I think for businesses who are more towards the jet engine side of the spectrum, they should focus more on sales and relationships. And then people who are closer to the toothpaste side, then they should be focusing more on marketing. And like for us as a business, I feel that if we think about the middle point between toothpaste and jet engines, we're more towards the jet engine side. So we use marketing to educate and inform, and then we have a very robust sales process that ensures that the people who come and make inquiries are finding the right thing, the right solution for them.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing to distinguish. And it's interesting. There are a lot of businesses out there that feel like social ads won't work for them, but it in fact can. And I guess it's just a matter of us having a conversation, understanding your business, understanding your financial model, and just working out if this is the right next thing for you.
Yeah, definitely. You're going to understand, like, obviously, like if you're an electrician, you sell lots of different things, switchboards, GPOs, solar, shed complete fit outs. There's lots of things that you can do. So what we always try and do is to, think about your target market, but also what is the golden goose product? What is the one thing that you would love to sell all day, every day, and not have to worry about all the lower value stuff? It's high value, it's higher volume, and then you can just rinse and repeat. Like it's high profit as well, so you just rinse and repeat that, and then you just focus in on that. So the solar client, he can do all sorts of stuff, but he just wants to focus on solar. And on the back end of that, he does get like upsells into switchboard fit outs and all that sort of generic electrician stuff. But yeah, always focus on your golden goose when you're doing marketing, and then you can, once you realize, okay, this is what I want to sell, who am I going to sell it to? That's where you position yourself, and then everything else sort of flows from there.
Beautiful. Fantastic. So, mate, if somebody's watched this podcast and they want to have a chat about how they can work with you at Aureus Growth Partners, what does that look like, and what would be the next step?
Yeah, so go to the website, just growth.aureusfinancial.com.au. We'll give you a spiel of the overall marketing solution, I guess, everything that we do, everything that's involved. From there, you can just fill out the form, and we'll have a look, and then we can just sort of have a chat as to how this system could potentially work for you. If you're selling jet engines, then it's probably not, but it'd still be worthwhile to have a conversation with you anyway. But yeah, it definitely works because it's based on that buyer psychology. And it's kind of like I talked about dating before, but like a lot of marketing is a person walking around with a gold ring in their pocket and then just seeing a pretty lady and then just going down on their knee and like, proposing to them. Whereas in dating, unless they're a psycho, in dating, you might meet them at a bar, or you're doing like a group fitness sort of thing, and then you have a chat with them, and then you're like, oh, they seem pretty cool, and then you might have a chat with them another time, and then go, oh, they're really cool. Do you want to go for a cute date? Let's go for a little picnic somewhere or something like that, or a coffee if you're boring. And then it sort of progresses, and then you start seeing each other, and then you might get into a relationship, and then eventually you might get married. So it's that whole sort of dating process. It's the same sort of thing with sales. And yes, there are people that you could possibly walk up to and get married to them straight away. I wouldn't like to meet them. But so think about it as that sort of process, and that is the system that we build in marketing.
Beautiful. I think this is the tagline for the whole podcast, Brett, is don't be a marketing psycho.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's a good. Yeah,
I think
yeah. I
that's a
like that
really
one.
great analogy, mate, because you're exactly
Yeah,
right. And I think those are all the mistakes that we made. And since solving all of those mistakes and creating a scalable system, we've been able to produce multi-million dollars in returns, and be able to grow and scale our business and help many of our clients do the same. So I'm
yep.
really excited about the work we're doing. So guys, if you're interested in finding out more, make sure that you jump onto the link. If you've got any questions, feel free to ping us. And just remember, every business can have a profitable marketing machine and should have a profitable marketing machine, but you need to make sure that you've got a proven process that you're following to get there. Otherwise, you're just guessing, and the risk is that you are a marketing psycho, which is not what we want. So let's do it the right way. Brett, appreciate you making the time,
No worries,
and
mate.
we'll catch up again soon.
Cool. Catch up.